Rain Country Homestead. God is good all the time. Today I'm going to show you how I make beef vegetable fritters. So let's get started. Alright, so these fritters are typically something we'd make with just vegetables, but I've gotten to where I really like to add the ground beef to it. And besides, I have a lot I have to use up before that side of beef comes in. The local grass-fed beef that we ordered up. There's my beef. And I realized something else I forgot, and that was something to start mixing with. Now, you're going to most likely end up wanting to use your hands at least partway through this process. But I like to keep from having to wash my hands 1,000 times while making this. So I like to at least have a fork available. And then when I get to the point where I have everything in it, then I will use my hands. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you first what I'm using in this so that you don't have to, so I can fast forward through most of the cutting and all that. So today I'm putting a little more spice than usual. I'm going to put in my red pepper flakes like always. My Himalayan salt, my mixed greens. Don't forget to look at the mixed greens, what to do with all those greens video. I'm going to put in some granulated garlic, sage. All these herbs here are garden grown. Lavender leaves. If you've never tried those, you need to try them. There's certain kinds of lavender, like your French lavender and English lavender. The leaves have a distinctly different taste than the flowers. It's not perfumey like the flowers. So look for those, and they work. It works good as a rosemary replacement. Anyway, oregano, basil, and thyme. So I gotta smell this just because. Love the smell of fresh grown thyme. Alright, then I'm also going to have my fermented garden grown garlic. Trying to get you to hear the bubbles. I know I did that in another video, but you know, I just want to make sure you can hear it. So I'm going to chop some of that up. I'm going to use a fresh garden onion, a potato, zucchini, and carrot. And I'm also going to add an egg and some hard white wheat flour that I fresh ground today. For this, you're going to want about 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup. I usually just kind of guess. So I'm going to be putting all these ingredients in here and then mixing it. And then when I get to the point where I'm ready to mix it by hand, then I'll probably slow it down for you. But from here on out, I'm just going to speed up the process so you at least have an idea how this works. I'm ready to mix it by hand. I figured I'll go ahead and slow it back down here so I can just show you and then explain a little bit more. Now, I don't have measurements. Sorry, I can't tell you measurements for how many herbs I use, you know, of all the herbs and stuff that I use in here, because I just dump stuff in. I kind of have an idea because I've been doing this kind of stuff for so long that I just know how much I like in there. Not saying I never make a mistake and accidentally get a little too much salt or a little too little salt, but I do know this is 1 pound of ground beef. And then I told you the flour and the 1 egg. Everything else can pretty much be a matter of choice how much you put in there. So, but the best way to mix this really is to just get in there with your hands. So you can see why I wanted to make sure that I had all the ingredients in first, otherwise I'd have to stop and wash my hands before I opened another jar. And the egg and the flour, especially since you have this has the zucchini in it, and anybody who's ever cooked with zucchini, you know it can become very watery. You need the flour and the dried herbs in there to help absorb the excess liquid from the zucchini. And the onions you can grate. I choose not to grate the onions, I chop them, because when I grate them, I don't know, they just seem to kind of turn to mush. So I prefer to chop the onions, but I've seen people grate them and you can do it that way. I've tried it. The smaller you get it, the better. Alright, so now I'm not ready to cook yet because it's only 3:30. So it'll be a couple hours yet before I start actually cooking these, and I'm planning on doing them on the wood stove. I'm going to see how much solar power I have. I may do them in here because I have better light if the solar power looks, if my battery bank looks good. If I don't, I'll be using the wood stove. And I'll try to get enough light in there so I get a good picture. So we'll be back in a bit. Well, I'm cooking up these fritters, and as I suspected, it's probably going to be really dark, but I'll do my best to brighten the picture up in the editing. But here's a few of them that are done. These ones, for whatever reason, I made really tiny. And I'm getting ready to take another one out, and you can see how brown it is. I try to get them brown enough that they're just real crispy on the outside. That's the way we like them. Oh, the other side of this looks good. I'll pull this out in the light here in just a minute so you can get a better look at it. Now, those ones could brown some more on that side, but that right there, that is how I really, really like them to look. And they're just so good and so yummy. You know, basically the way I make it is kind of like a glorified hamburger patty that's then fried in. I use a refined coconut oil for this kind of thing. I love refined coconut oil for frying anything in. Coconut oil, either kind, can stand high heat and does not go rancid. Like olive oil will go rancid at high heat, and so will other vegetable oils. Well, vegetable oil is not good for you anyway. The olive oil is good for you, but you should never fry in olive oil. But coconut oil or avocado oil, I prefer the coconut oil myself because I don't know, I can't explain it. You just have to try it. And then I use the refined for frying meats and stuff and potatoes and stuff because then you're not getting the coconut flavor. But if you don't mind that, it's very light anyway. If you don't mind the coconut flavor, then you can use the unrefined. But either way, I always use organic and a good quality coconut oil. And it's just, this is just so good. Now, if you're doing a fried apple pies or something like that, then use the unrefined coconut oil. So good. That's what the fritters look like when they're cooking, and they're cooking on the wood stove. Because I got to reserve our battery bank power to keep our freezer, fridge, and all that stuff running, you know, the other stuff running during the night. So if I have a wood stove, you know, the wood stove going, I'll be cooking on that. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed the video and that you learned a little something where you could take this basic recipe. Well, it might not seem basic with all the herbs and spices I threw in it, but that's the thing. You start with the basics and then put whatever herbs and spices and vegetables you want to put in there and make it entirely you and what suits you and your family. And that's, you know, that's what's the fun about this kind of stuff. It's easy to do, and it's another one of those dishes that's usually a winner with the whole family. All right, thanks for watching. Take care. God bless.